Trial attorney, legal analyst Misty Marris joins us right now. There's always a lot to speak to you about, Misty. All right, Giuliani, boy, what a fall from grace. You want to start with that? What would you say?
Absolutely not surprising that he got disbarred. So this is based on being dishonest in the profession. And so the complaint goes to the ethics board, and then a determination is made. He had already been suspended. And that's why the fact that he actually, they moved forward and they disbarred him, not surprising. There is an appellate procedure, though, and he's vowed to pursue it.
He's got, has he really? Yeah, he has other issues, financial issues that might take precedent in that, I don't know. But in terms of the reason for his disbarment, what they wrote was the disciplinary charges stem from the allegations that Giuliani communicated demonstrably false and misleading statements to the courts, the lawmakers, the public at large in his capacity as a lawyer for Trump and the campaign in connection with the failed effort at re-election. And the other thing before you answer I would put up here, which I thought was interesting, they had this referee, as they call him, appointed by the New York Appeals Court, who said the following. Taking advantage of his unique position, Giuliani told numerous lies, numerous forums, all designed to create distrust of the elective system in our country and the minds of its citizens, destroy their confidence in the legitimacy of our government. This behavior has done immeasurable damage to our democracy. I mean, whatever you think of that, I mean, this was unquestionably just the rough behavior for a lawyer, more or less a lawyer with a history of Giuliani. He used to be the U.S. attorney in this area, in the Southern District, before he was mayor.
Right, and I think that's why you see, talking about his unique position, all lawyers are held to certain ethical standards, and there's a professional code of conduct, and there's various reasons why you could be subjected to. That's the most serious punishment under that ethical scheme. Disbarment could be censure, could be suspension, which is what he had before. But yeah, the referee was very clear in the reasoning, and it's just that pattern of dishonesty that led to this conclusion.
Nothing in there, if you call a news conference, makes sure it's the Four Seasons Hotel and not the landscaping place in Pennsylvania. I was in the state for that. Boy,
oh my gosh!
Just remember, every day it's something, but that was a doozy. All right, let's talk about President Trump for a moment, because he says total exoneration is what he said on his social media platform after his sentencing was delayed in the hush money case. It's going to be 10 a.m. now, September 18th. It was supposed to be July 11th. This goes back to what we've talked about, that Supreme Court ruling on immunity. What do you make of it?
Well, so I have no doubt that they were going to challenge this case, because even though the immunity decision wasn't exactly on point for this, think about the conduct that was at issue in the hush money case. It was highly personal. It's certainly not an official act, but that Supreme Court decision went a step further, and it also said that any official act evidence, even if that's not the charged conduct, cannot be admitted in court. And then it gave a test for what constitutes official acts. Well, that test wasn't contemplated when Trump was in the courtroom during that trial. The law hadn't been determined by SCOTUS yet. And so now what Trump's attorneys are asking the judge to do is go back, look at all of the evidence that was admitted into court, and make a determination about whether or not that is actually precluded based on this new standard. Whether or not it is or isn't, because it's an official act based on what he did in the White House, conversations with Hope Hicks, posts during his tenure at the White House, which he says are at issue and constitute official acts. Whether it is or isn't, the court is going to have to go through that analysis. And that's why we see the delay in the sentencing proceeding.
But it's a reasonable request to make, or it will be a reasonable analysis to go through, in your view. Now, forget about whether or not you think the Supreme Court did the right thing or went too far. The point is they did what they did, and considering that that's what they did and how they ruled, you think the Trump team here has a reasonable question to make?
Absolutely, because of the ruling and because it extends to the type of evidence that could be admissible. There could be evidence that came into that trial which could be deemed to be improper, and it could be a significant component of it. And also, the Supreme Court also said when it comes to an official act, you can't even look at motive. So think about what the prosecutors were arguing in that case. There's so much at issue that requires a deep dive into that trial record, and for the trial court judge to make a determination about what was properly admitted at this point, given the new legal standard.
We were about to do a whole show about whether or not Trump might go to jail. Now, it sounds like you're telling me that it's a good chance we might be talking about whether or not this case just gets thrown out.
Right, whether it gets thrown out and there's a new trial, or whether the judge says, you know what, this is a case, or this is a question for the appellate division. But given this novel decision, think about what the judge wrote when he said, okay, we're going to move this to September. He said, we'll sentence him in September if it's even necessary.
If it's necessary.
And that's because there's going to be a dive in, and it's going to require looking at this new legal standard. The case is going to be looked at through a new lens.
Former president's on quite a legal winning streak here lately.
This was about as good as you could have gotten, especially if your goal was to delay.
Which it was, no doubt. Misty, thank you as always. Misty Marris on all of that. Still ahead.